into the shadows. The piper never dies, never dies. Right into the shadows.
Hey, this is Mike. I'm gonna do another video. This is Heavy Metal Part 2. My pickups in June. This is Lyra, my 16-year-old Pomeranian. She is a senior and she likes to sleep a lot. And she's been, in her old age, she's more boring than she even was when she was a puppy. She never really learned how to play. She can fetch a little bit, but she really kind of doesn't care. She's always been kind of a lazy dog, but we love her anyway, and she's really tired all the time, as you can see. This is Lyra, my Pomeranian. People want to see the dog, so here she is. All right, I'm gonna do Heavy Metal Part 2. These are all the albums that weren't released, in 2024 or aren't recent releases. These are all older releases that I kind of found, picked up, some Amazon deals, some stuff I've been looking for to pick up for a while that's really expensive, but I found deals because of covers being messed up or whatever, and that's what I'm going to show right now. The first album I'm going to show is Edguy. This is Hellfire Club. This is a fantastic album. I love Edguy. I love Avantasia. At least up to a certain point, I love Avantasia. After a certain point, Avantasia keeps making the same album over and over again, which is fine. I mentioned that with my ᴑɪᴜᴇ stuff in my first video. I am not opposed to a band, doing that. It's just that, after a while, picking up the new stuff isn't as exciting unless the songs are just insanely good. And I think that Avantasia kind of fell off just a little bit in the songwriting, not a lot. But this album, this Edguy album, this is sounds like a early Avantasia album. And it lives up to, Mandrake is one of my favorite Edguy albums. This might be better than Mandrake, actually. This is a really, 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 really fantastic album. Now, this album, this press, it's on black. It's an original press, Nuclear Blast. Came out in 2004, 61 minutes worth of music. Now, this album goes for anywhere from $90 to $120 or so online in really good, condition. If you can find it, there's not a lot of people selling this album. And I got a fantastic deal on this. I paid $50 out the door. That includes shipping on Discogs. He sent me pictures of it, so I knew exactly what I was gonna get. The albums themselves, they have a little bit of popping here and there, but nothing, nothing that you wouldn't expect. Just really nothing, really. But they're not mint, right? But what album is, right? As soon as you open it up, it's not mint. It's like driving a car off the lot. All right, so these are black vinyl. Very, very good. VG+++, I would say, Maybe not near mint, but VG+++. All right, so I got this for $50, and here's the reason. The reason is, now this album already has made stylistic choices. See the Edguy logo? It's kind of scratched out, and the Hellfire Club, it's kind of scratched out. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's part of the art. There's bent, creases, they made it look like this was an old cover to an old book, and, all this stuff was scratched out. But this album has a lot of bad edge wear on the cover. This is what edge wear is, where, the edges are peeling. You get a little bit of fuzziness here from the cardboard. This particular scratch is from a little bit of ring wear that's on there. And there's just some more edge wear on the top. This side looks good, the side that the albums came out of. Now, the spine is a little bit jacked up in the corners. You got a little bit of edge wear here and a little bit of edge wear here. Now, and a little bit edge wear on the bottom, is where the albums pop through probably, that was probably originally from shipping, for, how they ship still today. So that's basically the edge wear on the album. Now, because of the stylistic choices, with the Edguy logo, the scratching, the art making everything look old, I think it kind of works, And I'm like, I'm going to talk to this guy and have him send me pictures. He sent me pictures, and I was like, I'm totally fine with the damage. And I offered him less than he was, selling it for. And he said, yeah, I'll do it, but I want to do it through Discogs, and I'll do it for $50. And I'm like, totally fine. So I paid $50 on Discogs. I got the album. Everything was the way I just said it was. And I think it kind of adds to, the stylistic choices from the art. I guess I'm just saying all of that to, say if you're looking for deals, and you don't mind, you don't play the cover. So I kind of have that mentality, once the album is in my, I have an old video where I show how I put all my albums, away, into my collection. So once I have it, in my outer sleeves and stuff like that, my clear bags and stuff like that, I'm not really paying attention to those details anymore. Everything else is fine with it, except a lot of edge wear. There's a little bit of what looks like teeth marks. The guy said he thinks that a cat might have chewed on it a little bit, which might be true, because there's little teeth marks, like little poke marks, but they don't go through. They're just kind of indentations. But anyway, all this to say that I got a really good deal because of a, G or VG cover. And the albums are perfect though. They sound fantastic. Really, really, really good. Really enjoyed it. Love that album. Glad I got it for a deal. Yeah, especially for $50. I mean, that was totally worth it to me.
We don't wanna be like you. Don't you get that king of fools? We don't mind your life is tried. You are the king of fools. We are never gonna be like you. We don't follow king of fools. You're the light to lead the light. And I walk the wicked way.
All right, this is a reissue that just came out, and this is matter of fact, I hate this more kind of than I do a messed up cover in a way, This is the Poison release, Native Tongue, and they blew up the cover. And it's just, and I've talked about this before, when the artwork is dark like this, it would be better if they actually did it properly, because then you would see the detail. But because you can't see the detail, they might have even darkened it a little bit more on purpose. So you can't really tell that it's blown up and everything. When I say that, that just means that the cover's a little bit blurry. It was probably blown up from a CD image or a smaller image that was blown up bigger. So it just sort of makes the artwork look kind of crap. So anyway, that's the repress problem with the art. The album sounds good. The music on it, the songs are okay. This is not a great Poison album. I was hoping it was better. I was kind of excited to get this because I do like Poison. I like pretty much all their albums up to this one. And I do like this album. It's just definitely not, the songwriting just isn't as good as their other stuff. There's some good songs on here, but nothing really just popped out. Like Flesh and Blood, it was funny because I never owned Flesh and Blood because I hated Unskinny Bop, and I really didn't, the singles that came out for that record were not that great, and I kind of just fell off early and didn't really go back and listen to it. But when I bought that album recently, that album has some really good fucking songs on it. That album is really good. So I like all three of the Poison albums that came out up to, including Flesh and Blood. And this album is their fourth album, and this one is it's just not there. But there are some good songs on here. There are some good tracks. I think there's a couple too many balladish songs on here, a lot of mid-paced, rockers, and I don't think that they rocked out enough on this album. And the songs that they do rock out on, those are probably my favorite types of songs, but I really think that they needed to go a little bit more harder on this record. But anyway, just okay. Pick it up because it's been out of print forever, and it's a really expensive album if you want to get that original press. But yeah, they did a real shit job on the the packaging, which sucks. I hate when these companies are taking shortcuts and they're still charging $40. I mean, that album cost $38 at my record store. And even online, it's not that much cheaper. It's still like a $40 record, and to not have them put everything into it is bullshit. Fucking bullshit. I'll say that. And this is a company, Music on Vinyl, who isn't fucking around. These guys are doing it right. And this is the Saxon album. This is Forever Free. Not the best Saxon album, but it's a fun Saxon album. This one came in blue. These guys, they're not blowing up covers. This cover is perfect. Everything is sharp. The art is great. Whatever they're doing it right. And their albums are $40. I'd rather pay $40 for an album that is done properly than be pissed off when I get an album like that looks like shit. And, you know, I don't know, it just annoys me. Anyway, Saxon album, Forever Free, good stuff, solid Saxon album, typical Saxon. I'm going to try to keep getting all of these. I kind of want to have the whole collection of these, this 90s era, this one came out in 92, this 90s era version of Saxon. I'm really enjoying these albums. They're not like the best records ever, but they're just fun to listen to. And they have that new wave of British heavy metal sound that in the 90s, I just really appreciate that they were doing that. There wasn't a lot of bands that just stuck to their guns and just kept making the same style of heavy metal that they've been making in the 80s through the 90s and 2000s. You know, it's typical now. You know, all these bands are, you know, new bands and old bands are trying to recapture that old sound and make albums in that style because it's kind of fashionable again, and music is so fractured now that, you know, you can find, you know, fans who are going to like it, at least enough of them, hopefully, to make a profit, you know, by selling albums and streams and stuff like that. But yeah, back when, you know, back in the 90s, everybody was just, you know, you were chasing trends, you know, too many bands, like even the Poison album, you know, like it's not grunge. I can't say that Native Tongue is a grunge album, but I can say the poppy elements of, you know, glam metal or hair metal are not on that album. Like there's songs on there that just don't have that feel. Unlike a lot of the bands that are coming out with stuff now, like Crazy Licks, you know, who are modern sounding, but they sound like or feel like they could have been 80s bands. And that Poison record doesn't sound like that.
Feel the engines burning hard, pounding out the sound, feel it loud. Riding with the wind in your hair. Forever free. Forever free.
Anyway, all right, here's another record. This is a band I've been loving, and I found out that this genre of this band is a dirty word in the heavy metal. Yeah, I don't know why people hate deathcore. And Ingested is one of the better, I guess, in my opinion, deathcore bands. I didn't realize that deathcore was a dirty word in, you know, the extreme metal scene. And I started looking up deathcore, even on the Wikipedia. They're like, you know, people are just like, we fucking hate deathcore. Deathcore's this, deathcore's that, you know, expletive, whatever. And the deathcore guys are like, fuck all you guys, fuck you guys. We're fucking making great music. We love it. And I think it's fine. I don't know. I guess I get it, but I don't know. I just don't understand it, I guess, because I like it. And maybe that's part of the problem. And I just like my death metal right now to be more memorable. I don't need it just to be buzzsaw fast. I don't want it just to be, you know, have a certain guitar tone. That's not enough. You gotta have fucking riffs. You gotta have melody. You gotta have something memorable to remember the songs by. I mean, if it's just riffs that you've heard before, mixed up a little bit differently, I don't know. And I think that Ingested comes up with a lot of unique stuff. I mean, this is the third album that I've owned from them, and the new one, I have an older one, and this one is in between. This is the 2022 release. This is their seventh album, actually. I might want to go back, but I think they sounded more typical back in the day, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have to really go back and listen and figure it out. But this album and the new album are fantastic. I love this stuff. I think I'm a deathcore fan. I didn't fucking know, but I love deathcore. Especially Ingested. They're fucking great. Another album that people cross off their list sometimes is Black Sabbath 13, and I didn't even know that. I heard this album, I remember when it came out, I remember streaming it and thinking, oh man, this is pretty cool. Ozzy, Black Sabbath, Ozzy and Iommi back together, the voice, the riffs, it sounds great. To me, this sounds like a great Black Sabbath album. It may not be the best Black Sabbath album. I think this album is good. I'm enjoying it. I guess that's all that matters. What I care. I paid for it. I'm the one who has to listen to it. If I'm enjoying it, that's all that matters. I think 13 is a great album, and that's what I have to say about that.
Philosophy until my dying breath. I transfer from reality into a living death. I empathize with enemies until the time is right. With God and Satan at my side, from darkness will come light. Watch the rain as it turns red. Give me more wine, I don't need bread. These riddles that live in my head, I don't believe that God is dead. God is dead.
Last couple, this is Mastodon, Emperor of Sand. I haven't listened to this album yet. It wasn't, I like Mastodon, I just don't love Mastodon, but this was a Amazon deal. And it's funny because I've had this on my Amazon list for a while, and it was set to trigger at a certain price, and it just never went to that price because I never got alerts on it. It like never popped up, but all of a sudden one day, boom, this just popped up. I think it was a used copy. It just popped up on Amazon for like, I think it was like 15 bucks or something, or 13 bucks. So I just jumped on it and picked it up. I'm curious to listen to this. I do like Mastodon. It's just they're not my favorite. So I'm curious to know if I'll like this album.
Climbing inside the cosmic eye, never getting away. I wonder who I am. Reflections of nothing. I wonder where I stand. I'm afraid of myself.
And the final album I picked up, this is a original press promo copy of MrBig, their self-titled first album. I think MrBig is okay. They're definitely not my favorite of the 80s hair metal or glam metal scene. These guys are even more like hard rock kind of, and I don't know, they sound different from that scene. They're like just outside of it kind of for some reason to me. And I think it's how the album sounds, like the mix of the guitars, the vocals, and the bass. It just really sounds really sterile to me. I guess it would be an interesting word to use, sterile. It doesn't sound warm. It just doesn't sound great. The production, I guess, is what always threw me off. The songs are good. I think they're okay. And I do enjoy this album. Got a pretty good deal on this. I ended up paying 45 bucks for this at Noble Records. He had picked up a glam metal collection that I actually got to talk to him a little bit about, how he got it and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool to have a conversation with Dylan about it. But yeah, he got a really good deal on a hair metal collection, basically from a guy that he knows who picks up that stuff or buys collections himself, and he ended up getting a good deal on it. So he ended up putting it out there. There was a ton of stuff. I had missed the Instagram post by 3 days. So angry because I probably would have been there on day one and I would have spent a lot more money. So this was one of the only albums that was kind of left from that collection. There were a few other in there, but it was stuff I already had. There's some Dokken in there and things like that. But I already had all that stuff. This was an album that I didn't have, and I knew 45 bucks was a pretty good deal. So I kind of picked it up for that because it was a deal. It's an original press. And I do like the album. It's just not an album I'm going to pull out frequently. And it's definitely not my favorite from this era. But I did have this on cassette. I did buy this on cassette when I was a kid. So I did own it when it actually, like probably within the first couple weeks that the video showed on Headbangers Ball and it came out, I went and picked it up. And I always thought it was okay. Even back then I was like, I didn't love it. And now I still don't love it, but I do like it. And I'm glad to have it in my collection. I like building up the hair metal collection or the glam metal collection that I prefer to say glam metal, but I like to say both. I could give a shit. Yeah, so there you go.
These are words of wisdom. Turn out she was right. Gotta find a lover, 'cause I need a fix tonight. Oh, watch you touch me deep inside. Something snaps inside my mind. When I feel it coming, ain't no sense in running. I'm addicted to that rush. Every time we touch, never get enough. 'Cause I'm addicted to that rush.
That's everything I picked up in June for metal. I'm going to make some more videos with different genres, and thanks. Bye.